Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! I decided to head to the local park. I have a condition that's not immediately noticeable but affects my mobility and causes chronic pain. I qualify for a disabled parking permit, which I've always used responsibly. As I parked in the disabled spot, I noticed a middle-aged woman eyeing me suspiciously. I didn't pay her much attention initially, but as I got out of the car, she approached me. "Excuse me, young lady, but you do realize you're parked in a spot reserved for disabled people," she said in a condescending tone. I was taken aback but calmly replied, "Yes, I'm aware. I have a permit." I pointed to the permit hanging from the rearview mirror. She scoffed, "You look perfectly fine to me. These spots are for people who really need them." I tried to keep my cool. "Ma'am, not all disabilities are visible. I have a right to park here." And that's when her demeanor shifted from condescending to aggressive. "You young people always think you can get away with anything. I should teach you a lesson." I was shocked. "Ma'am, there is no need for hostility. I'm not doing anything wrong." But Karen wasn't having it. She lunged towards me, her hand raised as if she was about to strike me. I instinctively stepped back, my heart racing. Just then, a park ranger who had been observing the scene intervened. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to step back. This young lady has every right to park here." Karen turned her ass towards him. "And who are you to tell me what to do? She's faking her disability. I am doing a public service by exposing her." The ranger, remaining calm, said, "I'm an authority here, and I'm asking you to step back. If you don't, I will call the police." Karen, now red-faced with anger, spat, "Fine, call them. They'll see that I am right." And call them he did. Within minutes, the police arrived. Karen immediately began ranting about how I was a fraud, but the officers weren't having any of it. They checked my permit, confirmed it was valid, and then turned to Karen. "Ma'am, you're causing a disturbance and you tried to assault this young lady. We're going to have to detain you," one of the officers said. Karen's face went from red to pale. "You can't do this to me. I was just trying to do the right thing." But it was too late. They handcuffed her and led her away. I was still shaken from the encounter but felt a sense of relief. The ranger came over to check on me, apologizing for what happened. "It's not your fault," I said. "Thank you for stepping in." He nodded. "People need to understand that not all disabilities are visible. You handled yourself well." At the time, I was a third-year apprentice chef going for a job interview, and they told me to arrive in my chef uniform, as the interview is also an audition that you have to make a dish that they ask for. So I did everything I was told. "We will call you." Still in my chef uniform, and I was hungry and thought, why the hell not, I will place an order. While I was waiting, I noticed a table of ladies watching me but did not say anything at all. My food arrived and I was scoffing it down, as I have to go back to my job as soon as I was not on a split shift. I was on a straight and was given an hour's break. Then I noticed someone was standing next to me with a plate of food in their hand, looking at me. I said hi and continued to keep eating. They got my attention again and started to look upset with me, which I have no idea why. I ordered a well-done steak. "Does this look well done to you?" they asked. I looked at the plate and wanted to laugh but didn't. "No, it looks medium well." "And your point?" I asked, not caring, as I wanted to finish so I can get back to work. She slammed the plate in front of me, food went flying. Lucky for her, nothing landed on my plate. "Instead of enjoying your food, maybe you should cook the way your paying customers had asked for," she snapped. I looked at her in shock. "Why you think I work here, love?" "Sorry, I don't. I'm just having lunch, then I'm gone. Maybe go ask that person for help," I told her, and she looked pissed. "No, you're a chef. You got the clothes on. Go back into that kitchen and cook my food the way I had asked and paid for." I rolled my eyes now, as I had enough of her yelling at me. "Listen here, lady. I was here for a job interview and they told me to wear my uniform. I did not cook that steak for you. As you know, I don't work here. Please go talk to the front of the house. They can actually help you, as I don't work here." I snapped because if you looked at my chef jacket, it had bright pink word of sugar, which was the name of the cafe I worked at, with pink buttons and pink and white checkered chef pants. This place is straight up black jackets with white or black buttons and gray small checkered chef pants. The head chef wore an all white, so I was shocked, but she continued yelling at me. And that was when I noticed the head chef walking over towards us asking what was going on, and she turned on him. "Your young staff member here is refusing to recook my steak." The head chef smiled at me, then at her. Maybe because she doesn't work here? But please bring your plate with me and tell me what's wrong with it. She looked at him in shock. "She doesn't work here?" she asked. I smiled at her. "Like I said, I don't work here right now." I snapped, finished off the last bite and walked off, leaving her stunned. I ended up working at that place, and it turns out she's always complaining about her food, but she keeps coming. I'm 32 female, my sister Sue, 39 female, and her husband Dan, 44 male, have 2 kids, Lily, 11 female, and Amy, 16 female. Recently, Dan's mom broke a leg. She lived alone, so Dan and Sue took her in. She got Amy's bedroom, and Amy moved in with Lily. Late on the 2015th, Amy showed up at my apartment begging me to let her stay. She said it's too much, she has zero privacy, and Lily is constantly going through her things. Takes clothes without asking, breaks stuff, is so loud that Amy can't do anything, and when Amy complains, her parents just tell her to be patient. The final straw was when Lily found a present with a note for Amy from a guy from her class. Lily loudly announced Amy was in love and started reading the note to their parents. No one knew about him yet, and the note was obviously personal, nothing inappropriate. So Amy tried to take it from her, and the result was her sister startling and then yelling at Amy to let go of her. Amy grabbed the note and ran out of the house straight to me. I live close by. I was at loss. I said I'd talk to her parents for her and called Sue to let her know Amy was safe and to get her side. Sue asked to come over, but Amy didn't want to see anyone, so Sue said to tell her story and that she could stay the night. The day after we agreed, Sue would come alone to talk to Amy. 20 minutes later, she shows up with Dan and Lily. Lily apologized to Amy through tears, asking her not to hate her. Amy accepted but looked uncomfortable. Dan then told Amy to apologize for grabbing Lily, but she refused. Dan said she had to for them to get along, but Amy said she still didn't want to go home. After that, the screaming started. Dan called Amy a spoiled brat. He never had his own room, and Amy said that if she can't stay here, she'll go to friends and stop talking to all of us. Lily kept crying, and Sue just ignored everything until Dan declared they needed to get back home to his mom and tried to push Amy out the door. Sue broke them apart and said Dan should take Lily home. She'd handle it. She told Amy she'd make Lily act nicer and asked if that changed anything. Amy said no, so Sue said okay, she can stay. No clue what she told Dan, but it didn't work cause she keeps calling and texting. He says I'm basically kidnapping Amy and enabling her emotional blackmail. That I'm teaching her if she runs, she'll get whatever she wants. But it's not a big deal to share, and Lily apologized and is feeling terrible. That Amy is disrespecting his injured mom by not letting her have her room. That I'm interfering in a private matter by giving Amy an out. Undermining his authority just because Sue is my sister. Sue says she's trying, but I doubt it. Dan even showed up at my apartment demanding to talk to Amy. He refused to leave, so I let him in, but Amy locked herself in the bathroom until he left, threatening to call the police next time. I'm keeping a kid from her dad, which is messed up, but I worry where Amy will go if I kick her out. Reconciliation seems far away with all that screaming. And now some comments on the post. Someone saying, "You're not the jerk. I'd spend a couple bucks on an air horn, and every time someone starts screaming, give it a blast. Nothing gets resolved if they just keep screaming like unhinged idiots. Sounds like there is a clear favoritism here and a dad with anger issues. You must consider calling the picture yourself and filling them in just to protect yourself, but if you are in the US, this most likely will get child services involved." Another commenter adds, "Nobody's a jerk. At 11, little sis has full access to her teen sister and will most certainly be annoying as hell. Big sis isn't able to close a door on her. Bad attention is better than no attention at that age. The parents should make more of an effort to parent this growing pain situation. Dad feels guilt about grandma being there and blaming Amy for simply growing up and not wanting to lose the privacy she had previously. Your sis is in a position of trying to remain as neutral as possible. Amy is uncomfortable at home and embarrassed by an 11-year-old. Many teens see greener grass and head there. You have no choice. Amy is safer with you than somewhere else. To help, remind her that her little sister is probably obsessed with her older sister and she should make time for her and to visit her grandmother every week, even when she stays with you. Have your sister bring the younger one over or to a neutral place like out to eat or the movies. Arrange video calls for grandmother. Keep house rules at your house so she knows this isn't a vacation. She's still a teen that needs boundaries. Hope everyone works on this before it becomes a lifelong therapy issue. The third commenter goes with, "You are the jerk. Not for giving your niece a safe place when her home situation is so bad. You're the jerk for this." Quote, "Dan even showed up to my apartment demanding to talk to Amy. He refused to leave, so I let him in, but Amy locked herself in the bathroom until he left, threatening to call the cops next time." End quote. Don't let someone in because they refuse to leave. Don't let an adult in when a child is scared of him. Tell him all further communication will need to be done through a parenting app. Find and choose one. Typically for divorced parents, but applies here too. Or your sister. Tell your sister also, then block him. Talk to a lawyer to see what, if any, options there are for Amy to stay with you. Others have mentioned emancipation, but that's not an easy or quick process. So see if anything else is on the table for Amy. A fourth commenter seals it with, "Not the jerk. Dan and Sue need to learn to put Lily in her place. I realize these are teenagers, but to not say anything when Lily grabs a private note her sister received and reading it out loud to everyone is absolutely not okay. The parents should have stopped her immediately. Instead, they let the situation escalate and now turn it around on Amy. That's pretty screwed up. It's unsurprising she ran away and you did the right thing." In Dan's mind, what exactly is the alternative? They can't fix this conflict properly, so she goes somewhere she feels safe. Would he rather she roam the streets and sleep under a bridge? Dan is making it worse now. The situation will calm down, but he needs to stop lashing out. He's piling on instead. Dan, if I were you, I'd tell both him and your sister to get him to stop immediately so that in a few days, Amy will feel better. I work at Wood Forest National Bank. For those who don't know, it's a bank based out of Texas located primarily on the East Coast inside of Walmart. This story happened about a month ago. One of our usual entitled Karen customers comes into the bank demanding we print her a new debit card because she lost her old one. We issue debit card the same day as long as they pay a debit card fee. $10 for a reprint or $15 for a new card, waived for certain accounts. A reprint was a simple task, so I printed her card and sent her on her way. She then walks back into the bank because the last two numbers were slightly rubbed off. This is due to how the machine prints the card and is pretty common. "I want you to print this card again." "Is it not working?" "Look at the last two numbers. Other banks don't give me cards with rubbed off numbers." "I'm sorry ma'am, but sometimes that happens with the machine. It rubs part of the numbers off when activating the chip." "I don't care, it looks terrible. Do it again." "Ma'am, I don't think this is a good idea. We really don't have control over how the machine—" She raises her voice. "I don't care what you have to do, just print my card again so it looks nice." She takes a pair of scissors and cuts up the card in tiny pieces in front of me. "Print the freaking card now, or do I have to close my account and contact market manager's name?" The market manager isn't someone you would know unless you have had a conversation with him before. It's obvious she's trying to name drop him to get me to shut up and comply. Cue malicious compliance. I turn over to my manager and he gives me a nod. I then put on a devious smile and say, "Absolutely, ma'am. But to ensure this won't happen again, we will need to change the numbers, so I'm going to need you to sign some things." "See? Was that so hard?" We then spend the next 10 minutes printing out new cards until we get one that doesn't have the numbers slightly rubbed off. Each time the card isn't to her liking, she cuts it up and says to do it again. I just smile and say, "Sorry about this. Let's try again." Each time until about 8 cards later, she finally gets a card number that isn't rubbed off. "Finally, this card looks good. Thanks." She just leaves with a smug grin, thinking she won, and leaving us with her massive pile of cut-up debit cards. What we forgot to remind her of is having a completely new card generated outside of fraud or expiration cost $15 to be deducted from your account. This is made clear at account opening, and since she signed off on having all these new cards printed, was nothing she could say. Normally, I try and help people avoid bank fees, but in this case, screw this entitled woman. A couple days later, she comes storming into the bank looking pissed. What the hell did you do to my account? I'm sorry, ma'am, but what seems to be the problem? There is a bunch of debit card fees on my account. What the F did you do? Oh, every time you had me print a new debit card for you the other day, a $15 fee was charged to your account. The first one, where you only had me reprint the card number, was only $10. You need to effing reverse these fees right now before I call the market manager and get you fired. At this point, my manager steps in. Hello, ma'am. What's the issue? Your dummy employee tricked me into paying over $100 worth of fees because he kept screwing up my debit card. Ma'am, could you please not yell? Also, I was there when you demanded we print you a new card because you didn't like the numbers being rubbed off. We have your signature on these forms stating that you wanted these cards to be printed. I will not be reversing these fees for you. But I want to close my account. Okay, but first you need to pay off your negative account balance as well as your line of credit. Just give me the market manager number this instant. Sorry, ma'am, but we aren't at liberty to just give out his number like that. Here is a number to customer service if you would like. This is true as he's instructed us to not give his number out to any customer who asks. The only people who need his number already have it. He takes the number, screaming, "I'll have your jobs for this," flips us off, kicks over a chair and storms out. We get a call from customer care later about the incident where we explain everything and scan over all the signed debit card applications. Also, she had us print 8 brand new cards and the one reprint. That cost her about $130 in fees because she demanded a new debit card. The best part is my manager likely would have just waived the original $10 fee had she just been nice and asked.
And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.